Hello everyone, it's Kathy here, and today I'm going to share with you how to create this envelope mini album. This is the second part of the video series. The first video was the walkthrough of the completed album. This is the tutorial which will show you how to construct the album, the covers and the pages. I won't be creating every single page, but I'll show you the basic construction so that you can complete your album and personalize it to your own taste. So to create this album, this is what you'll need. I used the Mint Wishes paper pad, and in this paper pad there are lots of absolutely beautiful papers, and you'll also need the Kaisercraft envelopes. These are square envelopes and I use the craft envelope pack. You'll need 5. You'll also need some chipboard. To create the covers, you'll need, and I've prepared pieces in advance to save some time, you'll need 2 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 pieces. You'll also need a spine which measures 6 1/4 by 3 inches. To mat the covers, you will need 4 pieces of black cardstock which measure 6 inches, and that will mat the outside front covers and the inside front covers. So 4 of those at 6 inches. And I will also have these in the description box. I've also got the measurements here for the pattern paper. For the pattern paper, you'll need 5 3/4 inches to mat your covers. For the spine piece, which is this piece here, you'll need to cut a piece of black cardstock which measures 6 inches by 2 3/4 inches, and the pattern paper would be 5 3/4 by 2.5 inches. For the envelopes, black mat, and this is the insert. The black mat, which is this part here, you will need 5 1/8 inches by 5 1/4. And you will also need, sorry, my apologies, the envelope, which is the page, my apologies for that, 5 1/8 by 5 1/4. So that is the black mat to cover the envelope. And the pattern paper is 4 7/8 by 5 inches. The insert, which is the insert for the envelope, is just 5 inches. Out of craft cardstock, you will need a spine piece, and this will cover the inside of the album and the spine section. You'll need 1 piece which measures 6 inches by 4 3/4 inches. The binding, you will need a piece of craft cardstock which measures 5 inches by 6 inches. So if you cut these pieces in advance, this will help you to construct your album. So let's get started. First of all, let's start with the covers. The covers, you will need 2 chipboard pieces which measure 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. These will be matted using craft cardstock. I'm going to be using a method that I saw Genevieve Designs use, and I really liked her style of how she covers her albums. So she uses chipboard as per usual. However, the way of her construction is slightly different to what I've seen other people do, and for me it works. So first of all, you will need some craft cardstock and your score tape. I tend to use score tape because it's a really strong adhesive. You can also use liquid glue if you wish, but I prefer to use score tape. So you will need a piece of craft cardstock and a ruler and a pencil. At the bottom of your page, just rule a 1-inch line. And what you'll be doing is you'll be lining the bottom edge. It just is a guide just to make sure that your cover is straight. And we're going to actually adhere the chipboard to the edge and to this 1-inch line. So I'm going to apply the score tape around the edges, and also I'm going to use the thicker 2-inch score tape to the center part. So I'm just going to speed this process up, so because otherwise this video is going to be very long. But I'm just going to be adhering the score tape to the edge of the chipboard and adhering it to the craft cardstock. Now I'm just going to use a Teflon bone folder just to burnish the score tape to make sure that it is adhered to the chipboard. And then I'll remove the backing and adhere it to the craft cardstock. I'm just going to line it up with that penciled line that I drew and to the edge of the cardstock. And with my bone folder, my Teflon bone folder, I'm going to adhere that down. I'm going to measure up 1 inch once more around the edge of the other sides. Like so. And with my craft knife, and I'm using one by Kaisercraft, I'm going to carefully cut along my drawn edges. You could do this on a paper trimmer, but this is just as easy as well. The next step is to add some more score tape to the album. So I'm going to put a line of score tape along the 3 sides here of the chipboard, and then along the outer edge of the craft cardstock. This project uses quite a bit of score tape. However, You want to make sure that everything is held securely because of all the time and the thought that goes into the designs. You want to make sure you have a really good strong adhesive. Before I adhere the next section of score tape, I'm going to cut a diagonal line here, and I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to leave approximately 1/8 of an inch gap next to that corner of the cardstock. I'm going to run the tip of the bone folder just along the edge of all 3 sides before I do the application of the score tape, just so that I can start folding up the edges so that it makes it easier to adhere the cardstock, craft cardstock, to the chipboard. So now I'm just going to do that to the 3 edges, and I'm using Kaisercraft scissors, and these cut really beautifully with the score tape and with lots of different products as well. I'm just going to get my bone folder and burnish all of the score tape. And just press back those sides once more. So I tend to start with top and bottom, and then I do the sides last. And hopefully I can peel the tape off with my fingers successfully. And I start from the middle and work my way out, and then just burnish the side with the Teflon bone folder. I really love this tool. It really does help to give a crisp edge to projects. And pre-scoring by folding the paper really helps in this part of the album construction. So now we're ready to do the last section. So I'm just going to poke in the edges just a little bit, just to help make the folding crisper, and peel off the last 2 strips. And press that down and turn it over and burnish the front cover. So I've already done the other covers, so you would do the same process with your other cover. Now we're up to the spine. I'll get my spine piece. So we're going to cover the spine piece with craft cardstock. And let me see, where's my paper? Okay. I'm going to start by covering my chipboard piece with score tape as before along the edges. didn't do that bit. I'll go back and trim that in a moment. It's very sticky. And I'll do the center part with the score tape as well. You could use an ATG gun if you wish, or you could use liquid glue for the center section. However, I prefer to use score tape. It's just your personal preference. Put that to one side. Okay, so now it's time to measure onto our craft cardstock. I'm going to leave a 1-inch border around the entire chipboard piece, so I'm going to measure my lines like that. So this will help keep it straight, and then from here, oops, one inch and 1 inch. I'll remove the tape and adhere that to the craft cardstock. Now I'm going to line that up with my ruled lines. Just get rid of the rubbish and use my bone folder and press down. And I'll use my craft knife to cut out the spine piece. Okay. So now we've got our pieces ready, and we're going to attach the spine pieces to our chipboard album fronts. So we need some more score tape. There is a raw edge of the chipboard album, and that's the piece that we're going to apply score tape to. Going to run a piece along here, I'll just burnish that. And then we are going to run a piece along the edge of the spine. So we're going to have a piece along here. And a piece along the other side. So all those penciled lines that we drew, don't worry about those because they're going to be covered up. So I'll just quickly burnish the score tape on the spine piece. Okay, so we're going to attach the chipboard front to the spine piece, and you need to leave a gap. So the gap needs to be enough so that your album can open and close freely. So you need to leave about 1/8 of an inch, or roughly about the space of your album. So you could go like this and then place your chipboard piece, like album piece, like this, so that you could set your album page down, or you can just eyeball it, which is what I'm going to do. So I'll just remove the backing of the tape. And having that line there helps me keep it straight as well. So I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch gap. And that's done. So now I'm going to do the same for the next piece. I need to add more score tape to the second piece of the album cover. And I'll just burnish the side like so. Just put my rubbish in the bin. So the next step, I'm just going to run my bone folder along the edge here. Just so we can start getting things to fold up. And here as well. Okay, so now I'm going to add some score tape along the edge of the bottom and along this section here. You can leave a space, which is what Genevieve suggests, but I think it's okay just to go straight across. So I'm going to put a line of tape straight across the base. And straight across the album cover, spine piece, to the second album cover. Repeat that on the other side. And I've just run out of tape. It's okay. Back up roll. You do go through a lot of score tape. And my second row of tape. Okay, so now I need to burnish. Make sure everything is adhered, and remove the tape. And I'll just burnish with the bone folder to make sure everything is adhered. I'll do the same on the other side. So we have nearly finished the front of our covers, so very carefully you can start folding your album to start getting some shape, very slowly. You'll see that it's adhered really nicely with all the score tape. So the next step of what we're going to do is we're going to add the spine piece, which will go here. This is just simply to cover up all the chipboard pieces and the joins. So this piece is cut out of the craft cardstock, and that is 6 inches by 4 3/4 inches, and that just covers up this section here really nicely. So again, we need more score tape. Just put this to one side. So with this piece, I'm going to start putting score tape on this piece here, around the edges. And then I'll apply score tape to the actual album. So you need to make sure that when you are applying the score tape to the spine part, that you don't actually go too far over the edge, because we don't want the score tape to appear. So start by putting some here on the chipboard. And on the other side of the chipboard, on the cover part, and I'm going to use the score tape to do the center section here. My lines are always a bit wonky. I really admire people who can do things really straight. I'm always wonky. Okay, and I think the 1/4 inch will fit here. So use the bone folder to make sure everything is adhered. And I'll remove the backing tape, and then this will go on here like so. So I'll start with this piece. I mentioned if you have your pieces pre-cut, it really does make things really fast. I'll just remove all this rubbish. And carefully, I'll try to eyeball it as best I can. Line this up. It roughly measures the same as the spine piece that we've just attached. And press it down with the bone folder. And then again, we are going to carefully maneuver this album so that we can open and close the album freely. So you might want to just use your bone folder to assist in this, just to help it along. There we go. Adhered really well. Okay, so now we are going to add the mats, and then we are going to work on the spine. So I'll be back in a minute and we'll start that process. Okay, so now we're going to start matting the album, so then we can start preparing the spine piece and the hinges. So to mat the album, we're going to use black cardstock, and you'll need 6 pieces which are cut at 4 pieces cut at 6 inches, 2 for the front and 2 for the inside, and 1 spine piece which measures 6 inches by 2 3/4 inches. The pattern paper, which I'm not going to do today, you will need for the front 5 3/4 inches, and also for the spine piece 5 3/4 by 2 1/2 inches. So for the front cover, you can either use wet glue. This is a really great glue, the Kaisercraft glue. I'm going to use an ATG gun because I need practice. And with projects such as this, you go through a lot of adhesive. So I find using the craft glue is very helpful for certain things, but for some things I'm going to be using the ATG glue. So we'll start by adhering the front, and then we'll do the inside. So to do, oh dearie me, okay, it's not working today, so we'll have to resort to the craft glue. That's okay. I'll have to, I put in a new roll on that last night, and I think it's just needing a minor adjustment, so I'll just place the strip here like so. I'll just wipe the excess off. do the spine piece next. So this will give you an 1/8 of an inch border around the album. I think I've cut the wrong piece here. Let me just double check. I've picked up the wrong spine piece when I was making my prototype. Okay, so that's all right. I will just adjust. I'll carefully peel this off. Okay, I have worked out what the issue was. In my haste to gather my materials, this should have been the spine piece. As you can see that I should have picked up. This piece was an offcut from my 12-inch sheet of chipboard that I have used instead. So hence my measurements were out. So I apologise. However, we can still go ahead. I will just have to adjust the hinges. So let's put the inside mats for the pages and we'll see how we go. Hopefully no more disasters. First the glue and now the spine. However, that's okay, we can work through it. But the measurements that I have supplied will give you a 5-page mini album. So this one will give you perhaps a 4 or a 3-page, so you can customize it even further. So maybe it's not such a bad thing. We can use this learning to our advantage. As I say to my students, mistakes make learning happen. Although sometimes you wish that the boo-boos don't always happen, but never mind. Okay, I'll just wipe away. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm trying out a new tripod. It attaches to the table, so I have to be just wary that I don't move things too quickly. Okay, so we've got things matted like so, and now we'll do the hinges. So for the hinges, I'll put that to one side. I'm going to be using this new mini scoreboard, and can I say I absolutely love it. And the thing that I really love about it is that you can score from the top all the way down. And I still have my 12-inch Martha Stewart scoreboard, which I still use. However, one thing that I found difficult was when you had to score close to the 0 side. I'd always have to flip and score from this side, but having the opportunity to score from up here all the way down makes things so much easier. So for this particular album, for the original album, which had the 5 pages, your binding needs to be on craft cardstock, and it's 5 inches by 6 inches. And we are going to score the entire piece at 6 inches. And because the album measures width-wise just about 6 1/4 inches, this is the side that our binding is going to be. So hope I've got this right. It's been one of those days today. So it's just to be safe, let me double check on the original album. No, it doesn't. It goes the other way. It goes on the 6-inch side. So your 6-inch side goes across the top, and we are going to score at 6 inches, half an inch, the entire piece of the 6-inch paper. And then we are going to fold it. I'll show you how to adhere it to the spine. Oops. Okay. So what I like to do next is fold everything. So that I get an idea, and it also helps the paper. As well. So this binding system is really easy. And uses score tape. So first of all, this will be at the end a hinge. A hinge for your page to sit on. The next part, this part here, will be a gusset, and then the next two will be the hinge. So I like to fold things up as how they would be if they were in my album, just so that I know. So that would be up, and that's down, and then the next two pieces are up, that's down, and then we have the next two up. Then we have the gusset, and then we have the next two as our hinge. Like so, and then our final hinge. Because the album is reduced, this is going to be too big. So this now is going to become a 1, 2, 3, 4-page album. So I'm going to trim along this line here. So I better mark it here. And double check it all fits, and we've got room on either side. So 1, 2, 3, this is a 4-page album. Okay, so now we are going to apply the score tape. And because we've got an idea of how things are folded, it makes it easier to apply the score tape. So I like to flip it on the back, and you count in 3. So you go 1, 2, 3, and you put a line of tape here, because this part gets glued to this part because it becomes a hinge. Then so you go 1, 2, 3, put a line of tape here, 1, 2, 3, put a line of tape here for our second line to make our second hinge, and that is it. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Okay, so now we'll remove the tape. And we've got that one like that, and then like that. So I'm just going to apply score tape to the base. So we have 3 lines of score tape, and then I'm going to apply it to the hinges. So I'm just going to flatten it out a little bit to make it easier. There we go, it wasn't quite a disaster. We managed to work through it. It's now a 4-page album, it's okay. And now I'll just quickly burnish this. Make sure it's adhered to the base. And I'm going to put score tape on the hinges. And the last one. Okay, so next we're going to place the spine piece here into the album. So I'm going to remove the backing. And do my best to center it, making sure there's an even space at the top and bottom and at the sides where the creases are. Okay, I think that's it. Perfect. What I should have done, I just realized, is I should have trimmed the ends of my album. So I'm going to do that now, because this makes it easy for you to insert the pages of your envelope. So let me just do that quickly. because it's at an awkward angle, and with the current luck I'm having, I don't want to pierce this. So I managed to do that. I had to hold the album on my lap just so I could get a really good angle. So that's done. So the basic part of the album construction is done. So the next part is the envelope. So you'll need your envelopes now. And I used 5, but for this album you'll only need 4. So you'll need to, first of all, seal your envelope with wet glue. And I know this is going to be way too much. And once that's dry, we're going to trim the edges, and I will show you how to adhere that to the hinges. So that one's better. That's 2. While that's drying, these are the cards that come with the pack, and we need to cut these up. So to create the inserts, we're just going to get our paper trimmer, slice it down the middle. And you will need 4. So I will put that to one side. Okay, with your paper trimmer, you are only going to do a little bit of trimming. This is the base of our album page, and on the paper trimmer, there are measurements that we need to look at, and I'm just going to use my craft knife. We are going to take off 1/16 of an inch, and that is just this little line if you're using a Fiskars trimmer. So this long line represents 1/8 of an inch, and we are going to take 1/16, which is this line. So when we line it up, just put my craft knife away. So you can see the album, the envelope measures 5.5. So we're going to just slide it across to that little line, and you'll see it's just a slither, like that, just a slither. And then when we flip it over, it will then move us down to the 1/8 of an inch mark. We just need to get that slither. So let me just double check my measurements. Okay, so that's my cut line. So I need to go to there to get my slither, and my envelope is slightly off. So I just need to get that slither. And that's looking good. So now I just check that it opens, and it opens. Okay, so you can see I have just taken off a slither off both sides. So the next part is adding the mat, and the mat is 5 1/8 inches by 5 1/4, which is this, and the insert we will do as well. So I've only cut one of these out, so let me just attach that quickly for you to see. Okay, just wipe off the excess, like this, and I use the 1/2 inch and where did I put the insert? I will find it in a moment. I did have a nice neat pile, but when I craft, it always looks like I've become robbed. There's always a big schmozzle of mess and papers, and I've lost it. Okay, let's see. I might have to just make another one. That's all right. So what we're going to make, I'll just put this to one side. Okay, so for the envelope, our mat was 5 1/8 by 5 1/4. So let's see what's left on this. 6 inches by 5 inches, not enough. I always try to use up my scraps. I might have to get another piece of paper. So we need 5 1/8 by 5 1/4. That's my 5 1/4 by 5 1/8. It goes there like that. Okay, so that's matted. Now that scrap paper might be enough for the 5 inches. So 5 inches, yep. So let me do 5 inches by 5 inches. And round the corners. And what I did the same measurements with pattern paper for the other side. Okay, so what else can I show you? Okay, I will add. Okay, I'll move this. So now, I don't really have a preference of which direction that I apply my pages. I go from the front and the back. Sometimes I prefer going from the front because then I can plan how the pages correlate in the album. So I'd start by taking the score tape off the back, and then I slide my envelope over, and then I press, make sure not to go all the way down, and then I slide it over and press down, and that way I know it can fold both ways. And then I get a craft knife to peel off the front. So I just find a spot. Sometimes this is quick and sometimes it's not. And that's it. And you do that same process for the other completed pages as well. And this is the mat that slides inside like this. Like that. So the next thing I can show you, I guess, is how to make the belly band and also the little pocket. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at how to make the pocket and the belly band. So we'll start with the pocket. To make the pocket, you will need to cut your black cardstock at 6 1/8 inches by 2.5 inches. And for the pattern paper, you will need 4 7/8 inches by 1 3/4 inches. You'll also need score tape and a scoreboard. You'll score this on 3 sides at 1/2 inch. So the short sides first at 1/2 inch, and then the long side. So I'll try doing it this way. And of course burnish, just to make it a bit easier. And we're going to apply some score tape, so I'll get that ready, and you'll need some scissors. So we'll just trim the edges. To make it lie flatter, with these just trimming the corners, I should say, not the edges. And then we'll apply the score tape. So what we'll do is we'll just peel back, which is connecting better. Okay, peel back part of this. So what you would do is firstly you'd cover this with your pattern paper, front and back, and then this goes on the base so it lines up with the black, and that is the pocket, like that, and then you would burnish it into place. So next on the back is the belly band, and the belly band you'll need 6 1/4 by 1.5 inches, and the pattern paper you'll need 5 inches by 1 1/4 inches. For this you will need to score the top and bottom 1/2 inch. And trim the corner edges. Apply the score tape. Again, pattern paper would go here, and this lines up with the black, and trying to make it even with the black cardstock edge as well. If you wanted to make adjustments to this belly band, you can. So you can adjust the width. You won't be able to adjust the length because of the score lines. However, the width is something that you can adjust. I liked the look of this width. However, you might want one that is wider, or perhaps one that is thinner, so you could adjust that in your cuts. And then of course you would add your pattern paper. You might even be able to use some of your, this is where the scraps ideally come into play, that you can put, and there are also lovely sentiments that you could probably perhaps use as embellishments. So that's the end of the tutorial. So I hope that you feel skilled enough to create your own. So with one pack of those envelopes, I've been able to successfully make 2. So there's enough pattern paper in the paper pad for me to make another album should I wish. So it's a really worthwhile investment if you wanted to create some mini albums as gifts this Christmas. So I will have a list of the measurements on the blog, and also in the description box and at the end of this video as well, for you to create your own envelope mini album. So thanks so much for stopping by, and have a great day.